All right, I don't know what it is with like every tech phenomenon happening while I'm out of town or going on a trip this year, but like every single time I've been like in the middle of like going to do something else where I'm going to be away from studio or away from camera and then the whole fucking world explodes. Like, I don't know, Apple getting sued by the US government. That's huge news. And I think it has massive implications for the tech industry and just everything going forward. And I'm recording it on my 4-year-old Pixel because I'm not next to my stuff. I literally have this phone balancing on a thermostat right now. Anyway, let's get into the whole Apple nonsense. That's what you're here for anyway. Also, if you hear a dog barking, it's the dog that I'm dog sitting. That's why I'm out of town. So for those of you who do not know yet, Apple is being sued by the United States government for antitrust. Now, for those of you who don't know, this is like the first time that the antitrust ban hammer has been used on a tech company or a software company pretty much ever. There might be like minor cases of it here and there, and there was a kind of a threat of it when Microsoft was going to acquire Activision, but this is the first real time that the United States government has been like, no, you're too big, you're gatekeeping too many things from average users, that it just needs to end. And one thing that I want to make extremely clear about this antitrust lawsuit is that it's not about Apple hardware, because there will be plenty of people in this universe that will be like, okay, well, Apple makes their own phones, and so does Google, and so does Microsoft at some points, and so does Samsung, and all these other companies. So, like, why are we attacking Apple? And it's like they're not focusing on the hardware. The big thing that they're focusing on right now, and what they talked about in their press conference, is the software end of a lot of Apple's use cases. We've seen this in things like Apple's lawsuit with Epic Games and how they forced different companies to operate within the App Store standard and operate within the payment structure that Apple has put forward with Apple Pay and integrations within the iPhone's infrastructure of iOS and iPadOS and all these other formats. That is just restricting other companies' ways of making money as well as consumer choice when how they want to pay for certain apps that they handle on their iPhones. And this is the super big crux of the argument. The three things that I think they're going to focus on mainly in this lawsuit, and again, they're not going to target hardware. They're not going to target how the iPad is pretty much the only tablet that matters in the tablet infrastructure space. They're not going to talk about how iPhones are 75% of most sales of the phone worldwide at this point. They're not going to talk about how MacBooks are too expensive and they should stop soldering shit to motherboards. Like, they're not going to go into a right to repair argument. They're going to focus on three major things, and that's the integration of iMessage and how it doesn't interact with non-iPhone users across a standard that is pretty universal across the standard, which is text messaging. You should be able to send very similar features across the board to Android and iPhone users. Bear none. Like, you shouldn't have grainy photos. You should have end-to-end encryption with the RCS standard, which is the new standard for most phones that are outside of the Apple infrastructure, which is going to change later this year, but hasn't changed yet. The other thing is going to be how payment structures in app stores and how just open they are to third-party app stores within the ecosystem that is Apple. Apple is doing one thing which I think is pretty standard across the board, which is taking a 30% cut off the top of most apps. The Google Play Store does that. There's talks about it like coming back down. Steam is even doing it for most of us gamer nerds out there. And so it's one of those things, it's like, okay, well, at the end of the day, a lot of these other companies are doing it. The problem with Apple, and which is different than most other structures, is they are also forcing you to use Apple Pay for in-app purchases. So once you've taken the app off the App Store, sure, you used Apple Pay to pay for that. Sure, you paid for it in the App Store. No matter how you paid for it, you're going to get it pulled from that 30%. No big deal. It's when they're actually in the app, and this is Epic Games' huge argument, when they're in the app, the fact that Apple is going to take another 15% or 30% or 28% or whatever number that they deem appropriate off of the top of the Battle Pass subscription, or a book that you buy on a library app, or something else because you used Apple Pay, belittles the revenue that people can make on that platform to such a small degree that it doesn't allow other structures like even Google Pay or just standard credit card and debit card usage, any other payment standard, literally. So not being able to use any other service or any other structure makes it so that they own every single aspect of your payment control on their platforms, which is just not fair across the board. If you go to an Android phone, yeah, you have the option for Google Pay, but you have the option to also just enter a credit card, or you have the option to use PayPal, or you have the option, does Samsung Pay is a thing. You have all of these different options to pay for things on other apps, on other purchases that you make within the device. And Apple just doesn't allow that. Apple is just not allowing a lot of certain users and a lot of certain use cases to just freely exist like they do in the outside environments like Android, like Microsoft, like Google. And so that's the biggest crux of the issue right now, and the things that I think they're going to focus on in their antitrust lawsuit. I think it's going to be very software and very service based. They're not going to focus a lot on the hardware that Apple produces. They're going to focus on the services and the software that they use to keep people within their walled garden. And I think this is going to be extremely important, something that I definitely want to keep an eye on, and I hope you guys do too as this develops. Apple's lawyers are very, very good, so they could shred the federal government apart. I'm expecting that to happen pretty much, but I'm excited to see where this goes. Let me know what you guys think in the comment sections down below. Sorry for the lower quality video because I'm off-site and not in my normal studio environment, but we'll go back to that kind of stuff later. Again, let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Like this video if you liked it, dislike it, and tell me why in the comment section. Go to the community Discord. You know the razzle dazzle that I keep putting on this channel. So anyway, I'll see you guys in the next video. Okay, bye.